Good night to St. Lucie. Good night to the Barbados Labour Party family. I am going to start on a pretty sober note. And I want to publicly offer my condolences to Peter on the losses that he has suffered in the recent past. And the reason why I start like that is because, like Peter, I know what it is to fight an election campaign. We have fought together. And I want to say to you, the people of St. Lucie, that when a person has gone through what Peter Phillips has gone through in terms of the losses that he's had, and he is still able to come and offer himself as your representative, that tells me you have a strong representative. That tells me you have someone who really wants to represent his people. One who is willing and able to push past his own challenges to make sure that he can do well by his people. You have a faithful man in the man of Peter Ricardo Phillips. I want to speak to you a little bit about the water issue. St. Lucie and the eastern part of St. Peter have a similar challenge. Peter is my neighbor, he is my friend, and he has also been one who shares the challenge that I have with respect to water. The Prime Minister has already spoken to some degree about the water challenge. But I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that we are all from the Owen Arthur School. And when I say the Owen Arthur School, I mean that Owen Arthur has left with us the mantra, the ethos, the way of doing business. And he used a very simple but very powerful and impactful term. Owen Arthur always said to us, when you have challenges, you face it and you fix it. That is what the Barbados Labour Party has been doing with respect to the water challenges in this country. Now, I can speak with some level of authority because, like I have said before, I have had to face the challenge as well. In Boscobel, we have had the challenge, the same challenge that much of St. Lucie faces. In the northern part of St. Smains, I also have the challenge, the same challenge that on the western side, Checker Hall, Broomfield, because the St. Smains, north of St. Smains, is on that same water system. And I can say to you, ladies and gentlemen, that we have been working on your behalf. I remember fighting in the cabinet alongside Peter Phillips to make sure that the Barbados Water Authority did some work to try to get desalination plants up and running in this country. We tried at Colin. We encountered challenges at Colin. But we tried at Colin because the Barbados Labour Party does not throw up its hands when faced with serious challenges. And a water challenge is a serious challenge. You need to be able to drink, to cook, to wash. So we recognize that there is a challenge. We recognize that the well in Allendale was challenged and still remains challenged. We also recognize that the Democratic Labour Party did nothing with the water system for the 10 years they were in office. But as a party, we do not dwell on the fact that the Democratic Labour Party did diddly squat, almost nothing, to improve our infrastructure, including our water infrastructure, including our road infrastructure. They did nothing. You would recall a former Prime Minister saying that potholes are some kind of inconveniences. Somebody said potholes save lives. That was the kind of disdain that the Democratic Labour Party treated Barbadians with. The Barbados Labour Party came into office and we set about the work of addressing the issues that we knew existed. Roads were one, but water was an important one. And ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you, because just as work is taking place in St. Lucie, work is also taking place in the eastern part of St. Peter. And so you would be aware that we are laying new mains. Because the issue is the pipes, and the issue is the amount of water in the reservoir, in the wells. Those are the issues. So like a good government, like the Democratic Labour Party would have done if they had been a good government. But we came into office, and as a good government, we set about addressing those two issues. We knew that we had to get new water into the system. We also knew that we had to change out the mains that water flows through. And so you would be aware that at the Hope in St. Lucie, work is going on to make sure that we can have a decent desalination plant up and running. Now, I'm talking about that in St. Lucie because St. Peter also going to benefit. The water from the Hope is going to go to Half Acre, still in St. Lucie, and that has its own distribution. Some of that water is going to go to Lambert's. Now, I want the water in Lambert's. Many of you want it in Half Acre. And so I share the same desire as Peter Phillips. I've had to suffer through the same thing because of the neglect of the Democratic Labour Party. But we have been working. We have been working to make sure that an issue that is as important as water will be addressed. We are not going to treat to the issue by telling lies about it. So we're never going to tell people that anybody's spending $1,000. But we are aware that even if you are spending $20 in bottled water, you ought to be getting to the stage where you can get to use water from your tap. And that is what we're working on. So we are relaying mains in this country, particularly in St. Lucie and a few in St. Peter, and we are working to make sure that the water supply is increased so that you can get a decent supply of water in this country. The Prime Minister told you earlier, and you also heard Shamar speak about it. If it is not broke, don't fix it. But I want to go beyond that. I want to remind the people of St. Lucie I want to remind all of us who are in Crab Hill tonight that the Democratic Labour Party is known for its tricks, its gimmicks, and its attempt to get office by any means necessary. I want to remind the people of St. Lucie, those of us gathered in Crab Hill tonight, that the Dems came into office in 1986, promising people 15,000 tax-free. The Barbados Labour Party, an honest party, a party that is not about tricks and gimmicks, told the country we cannot afford it. And our leaders, honest as they always are, said to the people, we are not going to change our position just for the sake of getting votes. We will not risk this country for the sake of getting votes and being returned to office. We will always be faithful to the people. We will always be truthful with the people because we believe in the dignity of the people. And I can tell you that when I compare Peter Phillips with those he has run against, he once ran against a man who, I'm a Christian and I'm supposed to forgive. And I have forgiven but not forgotten that a man from about here walk about and call the people in 6 men squatters, refused to address the issues that they had. The Democratic Labour Party is expert at avoiding issues, expert at neglect, not fixing the water issue, not buying garbage trucks, not buying buses. That is the Democratic Labour Party. But they came to office saying that they could do all of these fancy things. So Ralph Thorne is now tonight saying, we are going to remove VAT. Ask him where the money is going to come from to continue the work of laying mains in St. Lucie. Ask him where the money is going to come from to make sure we have a new desalination plant at the Hope. Ask him where the money is going to come from to fix the roads in St. Lucie and St. Peter. Ask him where the money is going to come from. You will also remember that in the 1991 election, Owen Arthur said to the country, he said it in St. Lucie too, people of St. Lucie, these people are running the country into the ground. Do you know what the Democratic Labour Party said? A party of tricksters, liars at the leadership level, because there are a lot of good, decent Democratic Labour Party members who will be voting for Peter Phillips and the Barbados Labour Party. But the leadership of the Democratic Labour Party in 1991, when this Barbados Labour Party was saying there are problems on the horizon, do you remember what they said in order to get your vote? They said the economy is batting like sobers, desecrating the good name of our now national hero. That, ladies and gentlemen of St. Lucie, is the length, or maybe I should say the depth, to which the Democratic Labour Party will go in order to get their hands on the reins of government. That is how low they will stoop. They have no problems in lying to you. They have no problem in telling you all kinds of fancy stuff that if you really think about it, you know that it cannot work. Unreal promises, When the Barbados Labour Party comes to you, the Barbados Labour Party comes to you with policies that have been thought out and thought through. Policies that we know the cost of, so that we are able to say, this can work because this is the revenue coming into government. This is the expenditure of the government. We are able to come to you with proper policies because we have costed them. I can tell you about a couple of them. We introduced, and Peter Ricardo Phillips was part of the team that introduced for the first time in Barbados a national minimum wage. When we introduced a national minimum wage, and Peter is a key man in our government because Peter is the secretary of the parliamentary party, besides being the chairman of committees. But Peter is part of the team. When we instituted a national minimum wage, some of the Dems who should have been happy that we were increasing the amount of money going into the pockets of ordinary working class people were against it. Some of them were against it. But you know how we could move through and push through with it? Because we had done the analysis. The Minimum Wage Board is part of my ministry, and they delivered to me information based on solid research that told me there would not be any mass layoffs, that the economy would not collapse because of a national minimum wage. Ladies and gentlemen, I am happy to say to you that the party, the government that Peter Ricardo Phillips is a part of, not only established a national minimum wage in 2021, but increased it last year and increased it again this year. The party that Peter Phillips is a part of introduced for the first time in the history of this country paternity leave. The men in this country who become fathers are able, as we speak, to get 3 weeks paternity leave on the birth of their children. That is the party Peter Phillips is a part of. And that is the party that wants Peter Phillips to come back as we go back on the 11th or after the 11th of February. That is what we were able to do. We don't just talk pretty talk. We're going to cut this and do all kinds of fancy stuff. That is not what we are about. No gimmicks. I am wrapping up, but I want to say something a little bit negative about Peter Phillips. I like Peter Phillips most of the time. When it comes to November, Peter Phillips and I don't agree very well. I am glad the election is not in November. Otherwise, I may not be in Crab Hill. Peter Phillips loves St. Peter so bad. St. Lucie, sorry. But his name is Peter. But Peter Phillips loves St. Lucie so bad that I can't really take him in November. Because whenever we got the competition, you know, the Parish Independence Committee, all Peter talking about is St. Lucie this, St. Lucie that, St. Lucie that. I just get tired of him. Don't stone me. I know that I'm in St. Lucie. But tell you the truth, I just really get a little bit tired of him. The only thing that has saved Peter Phillips is because my grandmother from St. Lucie and my wife from St. Lucie. So I know that good things in St. Lucie. Because my grandfather came out here, Carrier 1, and I came out here, Carrier 1. But I said that to say to you, ladies and gentlemen, that is an example of what Peter Phillips thinks about St. Lucie and the people of St. Lucie. He is absolutely committed to this parish, to this constituency. And I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, you have a committed man who is offering himself to you to be your representative in the House of Assembly after the vote is taken next Wednesday. You have a man who loves his parish. You have a man who is committed to his constituency. You have a man who fights hard for his people, who is from among you, who feels the pain of the people, who feels the needs of the people. You have Peter Ricardo Phillips, and I'm asking you that on February the 11th, that you go to the polls next week, Wednesday. I ask you to go early. Go to the polls. Look at the ballot paper. Look for Phillips. Peter R. Cast your X. You will be voting for a good man, a good representative, a critical part of Team BLP. Because when BLP leads, Barbados succeeds. When BLP leads, St. Lucie will succeed. When BLP leads, all Bajans will be able to succeed. Vote Peter Ricardo Phillips. Good night. God bless all of you.